Welcome. Welcome. Last week, we explored David Hawkins' map of consciousness. Y'all remember that? And we discovered that every level of consciousness carries its own energetic signature. The week before, we learned that our lives are not shaped only by what happens to us, but by the frequency from which we meet what happens. So this week, I'd like to take that a step further. Because consciousness has a frequency, and every one of us is broadcasting it. Our talk title today is You Are a Spiritual Broadcasting Station. Be the frequency that changes the world for good. So let's go to the first slide. Speaking of frequencies and stations, you see the picture there? She's saying, how can a radio station be on the internet? How can a radio station be on the internet? Anybody know? Got some people from the younger generations that want to answer that. No offense. No offense. I cannot imagine the amount of changes that certain generations have had to go through. I mean, me, myself, and I mean, gosh, I had, my grandma had, what are those things? The 8-tracks. I had 8 tracks that then went to tapes, that then went to CDs, that went to streaming. I mean, my goodness. And now we're back to records. Oh, I skipped records. And now we're back to records again. That's a lot of storage. Let's go to the next slide. So what frequencies do I tune into for internet access? Can y'all relate? Anybody in here relate to that picture? So what frequency do I tune into for internet access? Well, we're going to talk about the frequencies that we get to tune into every day, every minute of our lives today. I just thought we'd start out with a little something funny. Y'all didn't laugh as hard as you usually did, so maybe that hit a little too close to home for some. Maybe hit a little too close to home. Ernest Holmes once wrote, "Did you ever stop to think that you are a spiritual and mental broadcasting station and that messages are going out from you in all directions, perhaps even while you're sleeping?" Ooh. That also explains why some people can walk into a room and everyone relaxes. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Or somebody can walk into the room and it's like they're shining a light and it just brightens the whole place up. And then there's other people that can walk into a room and suddenly you feel like checking out the emergency exits. Y'all know it? Yeah, this is true. And just going to point out there's an emergency exit right there and one right out there. But don't look around right now. There isn't anybody in this room. It makes me check emergency exits. We know what Holmes meant, right? And experienced it about being a broadcasting station. Have you ever been around someone who was so peaceful that your breathing slowed down? You ever been around somebody like that? So peaceful, so serene. You just find yourself relaxing and becoming even more comfortable in your environment. And then there's someone that we can be around that's so anxious that you start worrying about things that weren't even your problems. When I wrote that, I couldn't help but remember, Mom, do you remember I had a girlfriend once that was so anxiety prone that you were like, I just can't be around her. You just like, I get so anxious and she's blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's just, God bless them, but you know, it's kind of like when you want to tell somebody, hey, you need a chill pill. That's kind of the person that needs a chill pill. But you know, they probably need our love more than anybody else. But those times, those experiences that I'm bringing up, that's broadcasting. That's what we're talking about today. That broadcasting. On a basic level, if I tune into the idea that the world is unsafe, that everything is working against me, my body responds accordingly. My stress rises, my muscles tighten, my blood pressure increases. But if I tune in to the possibility that life is fundamentally supportive, what do you think happens then? Smile. Natural smiles. There is an elegant rightness moving through the universe. My body responds differently. I breathe easier. I soften. I become more available to wisdom. And by God, I always want to be more available to wisdom. Definitely. Holmes said that health and wholeness are both mental and physical states. Spirituality is a healing of our mentality. Spirituality is a healing of our mentality. And let's be honest, some of our mentalities could use a little spa treatment. Mine included. Little spa treatment. And I'll tell you why having a little spa treatment for our mentality is a good thing. Because when my mind is in the right place, my world appears differently. When my mind is in the right place, I show up differently for the world. And when my mind is in the right place, I'm in the right place, even when circumstances aren't. We have an immense power, yet we often give it away. We often don't use it. We can walk into a room filled with conflict and immediately tune into that conflict. Sometimes folks absorb it, amplify it, and rebroadcast it. Yet we always have the power to transform the room. So we're going to think about that. You may not be able to control every circumstance, yet you can influence the atmosphere you bring into it. And in a world that can feel loud, reactive, and divided, that is no small thing. Holmes taught that all form comes from one substance made manifest through vibration. Everything is movement. Everything is energy, expressing itself at different rates of vibration. Water, ice, steam, they're the same substance. The difference is their vibration. Likewise, fear and love are not two different universes. They are two different frequencies of consciousness. God, spirit, divine, universal intelligence, as first cause, is the original broadcasting station. So life and love and wisdom and joy and peace and creativity and wholeness are continuously being broadcast throughout creation. And that broadcast has never stopped. The question is spirit broadcasting. The question is, what station am I tuned into? Remember how I've said in the past that old adage, if God feels far away, who moved? Who moved? Our question for ourselves is, what am I tuned into? If I want my broadcast to be filled up with loving kindness and connection and juicy, life-centered creativity and respect and love, anybody in here want their station, want their life filled with that? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. I want to make sure that I'm tuned into that station, right? I can't tune into violence and criticism and expect to broadcast love and peace. Can't do that. And we all can pretty much sniff out the ones that are trying to, right? It just doesn't add up. There's an authenticity factor there that takes place all the time. You can't hide your energy. And you wouldn't want to, right? You wouldn't want to. So that reminds me of a situation observed at a busy airport. A woman was reading a book of poetry, just sitting there in her own little blissful state, reading her book of poetry. And then an announcement came on, and it said that the flight was delayed. And it was going to be delayed quite a long time. Outrage broke out everywhere. But she barely looks up from her book. She just barely looks up, takes in the announcement, and then goes right back into her poetry. While all around her, something else is happening. People were tuning into each other's outrage. It was as if the inclination to spark it into full bloom was there, and the announcement set it off. But not her. No, she was surfing the poetry channel. Same delay, same inconvenience, same airport, different channel. And while everyone else was tuned to Rage Radio, she was tuned to the poetry station. And here is what is fascinating. Here's our deeper dive today. If you focused on the angry crowd, you started to feel agitated. If you focused on the woman reading the poetry, you felt calmer. This is the power of frequency. We do not merely receive energy from the world. We help determine which energy becomes active in our experience. Dr. Holmes described how people tuned into aggression, feed off of it in each other. And then the exchange of aggression circulates and escalates because they're rebroadcasting what they've tuned into. And it gets louder and it gets louder and then it gets passed on. Oy vey. Right? Yet, there's really good news. On the other hand, if you are surrounded by people who have resentment and animosity, or you're feeling that energy, or wait, you're not feeling that energy, because this is the good point, and you have none of it, you will not tune into it. If you don't have any animosity, if you don't have any resentment, you're not holding on to it in that moment, then the people around you are showing up and broadcasting in that energy. It doesn't create any situation for you. You're not aroused by it. That antagonism does not arouse an equal antagonism in you because you're not broadcasting on the same wavelength. So you're not tuning into that station. So it doesn't affect you. That's lovely, right? I mean, that's powerful. Yay. We are not victims of the conditions in which someone else is broadcasting, is basically what that's saying. So how is it that people can have a different experience and be in the same room? You ever notice that? Different experience, same room. It has something to do with what you're bringing into that room, right? Don Miguel Ruiz writes about it in his book, The Four Agreements. One of the agreements is don't take things personally. He says, the real problem is when someone says something unkind or critical to you, and you already believed it before it was said. It's as if you were already tuned into that station, and their words simply turned up the volume, and then you broadcasted it. So I'm going to give you a visual example. Let's go to the banana slide, please. You ever seen this picture? The banana slide. So we've got this banana looking good, looking just the right, perfect of rightness there to strut its stuff. Yet it's looking in the mirror and look at what it's seeing. It's seeing itself not necessarily at the right and perfect strut stuffing way. It's showing itself, a little bruised, a little aged. It's not really seeing itself as the factual reflection that's really taking place. Yet it's factual for the banana because that's how the banana is seeing itself. This is what Don Miguel is talking about. It's those beliefs. It's how we feel about ourselves. And we're broadcasting that all day, every day, all the time. And so Don Miguel was saying that what happens is you're already believing, maybe believing, oh, you're messed up, or you messed up, or maybe something happened and you didn't live up to your expectation, or you felt like you let somebody down, or you let yourself down, and you're feeling pretty down. And then somebody says something that's not the truth of you, but it gets amped up. The volume gets turned way up because it supports whatever you're believing about yourself. That's what Don Miguel was talking about. The question is, what am I tuned into? Because what I'm tuned into is going to determine how I travel through this world. how I handle what's going on. And I want to ask myself, what do I want to feed on? Do I want to dwell on chaos, reactivity, that herd thinking, that mob mentality? Do I want to dwell on that? Do I want to be on that station? Or do I want to be easily turned up when that station plays something? Or do I want to broadcast a stream of clear, calm, compassionate, conscious content? And if that's what I want, where is it going to come from? So how many of you would like to broadcast a stream of clear, calm, compassionate, conscious content? Right on. Thank you. I'm right there with you. So where's it going to come from? Inside, choice. Where's it going to come? Outdoors. Up yours. Right. Oh, that's hilarious. Eric, I thought you said outdoors, but you're like, up yours. Yes. You've probably been waiting to tell me that all morning, haven't you? Absolutely. Up yours. He's talking about last Sunday when I said to everybody, up your consciousness. That was great. And outdoors, but we're going to get to that in a minute. That's great. So where does it come from? I have to tune into it. We all have to tune into it, but by God, thankfully, we don't have to produce it. I don't know about you, but that gives me great relief. I do not have to create it. It's already in the air. It's already within us. It's already actively there for us to tune into all the time, every time. And it's all-knowing, all-powerful, and always present. I have to tune into what is already and always and has been present, and it's what Dr. Holmes called the divine reality of life, the original broadcaster. And here is the liberating part. You do not have to manufacture peace. That's great, right? You do not have to create love from scratch. Now, I like to make biscuits from scratch. That's fun. But I don't have to create love from scratch because it's already here in an unlimited amount. All I have to do is tune into it and also believe that it's within me. You do not have to invent wisdom. The signal is already in the air. Your task, our task, is to tune into it as frequently and as loyally and as often as we can, especially when we don't want to. Especially when we don't want to. Oh, boy, that's wisdom right there. There are so many times where I wished I had when I didn't want to. But you know what? This is the moment now. And I can make the promise to myself to be loyal and tune into it when I don't want to next time. How about y'all? Y'all willing to give that a try? For some people, that happens through prayer. For others, through meditation. For some, music, nature, going outside, service, or laughter. Sometimes when I am struggling, I simply think about the people that I love. The moment I do, something shifts. The signal becomes clearer. And sometimes I ask, how does the divine see this situation? Maybe put it into the divine hands instead of mine, because I don't have a solution in the moment, right? So I'm going to surrender. You know, Jean Houston, I talked many months ago now about the IntelliKey, that your highest self. And how sometimes when we're in a bit of a pickle, we can tune into our highest self and just ask our highest self, hey, how do you see this situation? How would you respond to this situation? Tune into that higher and greater knowing that resides right there within you, that you have access to at any moment. You can ask yourself, is this how and who I want to be? Is this what I want? The question alone can move me from fear to wisdom. I also often refer it to looking at something from 30,000 foot level as opposed to ground level. Perspective is powerful. Perspective can be everything. Think of that in relation to the consciousness scale that I shared last week. Can you put that consciousness scale up? And Eva, thank you for yours. I could not use yours for a particular reason, but I thought I would use the one I shared last week to not throw anybody. So this is the consciousness scale that I shared last week. And with the 30,000 foot level to the ground level, I want to provide kind of an example, an analogy with myopia. Anybody know what myopia is in here? Narrow vision, it's short-sightedness, narrow vision and short-sightedness. It's the technical medical term for myopia, short-sightedness. So if you are at the lowest level down here on the consciousness scale, and the lowest thing on the consciousness scale, this one is shame. It vibrates at a level of 20. So if you're at that, the lowest level, myopia, severe myopia, you can't see anything beyond an extremely distorted sense of self-worth and the world. So just imagine, I mean, don't hang out there, but just imagine for this very brief moment, that you're there and what you could possibly be experiencing within your life and the life of the world and how you're seeing it. Your vision becomes less hazy and more accurate at a higher level. The visual fog lifts and you develop higher clarity on yourself, the world, and your place in the world. So we started out down here and we've got severe short-sightedness. You know, can't see anything beyond an extremely distorted sense of self-worth in the world. Go to a higher level, however, the visual fog starts to lift. You develop greater clarity on yourself, the world, and your place in the world. Your vision becomes less hazy and more accurate. The higher you go, the higher the clarity of your vision on the world around you and what that entails. All these changes come from just a change in your consciousness. In reality, nothing about life or the world has changed. To increase your consciousness level, thus translates into a more accurate viewpoint of reality. Remember the banana? The reflection would change depending on where you are on the consciousness scale. And the purpose, the point, is this leads you to leading a more happy, full, and abundant life for which I believe we're meant to experience. As metaphysicians, we understand and intuitively feel that we are unified with the original broadcaster, first cause, God, Spirit, Divine, Christ consciousness, light. There are many names for that same energy that I'm speaking of. Yet in today's world of cutting-edge quantum physics, there may also be a desire to give these ideas some heft, some weight, through scientific understanding. Even scientists whose sole line of work is studying properties and interactions of matter and energy know about the invisible force. And Anthony, this is for you, so I'm going to repeat that, okay? Even physicists whose sole line of work is studying the properties and interactions of matter and energy know about the invisible force. Most do not call them God. Albert Einstein, for example, claimed no belief in the traditional God, but he sure as heck knew there was something a lot juicier out there in the cosmos. That, he said, was all that he really cared about, and the rest, he claimed, were just details. So honestly, if Einstein says that the universe is juicy, I'm inclined to listen, because that's not usually a sentence you hear in a physics class, right? Y'all been there? You agree? Every thought has a frequency. Love has a frequency. Compassion has a frequency. Fear has a frequency. Gratitude has a frequency. Resentment has a frequency. And creative law responds to what we consistently broadcast. This is why Holmes said that thought force is a movement of consciousness upon substance. So let me ask you, what frequency has been on repeat in your mind lately? Hot. Sandra's hot. Yes, you are. What frequency has been on repeat in your mind lately? And you don't have to answer out loud. I'm just asking. But you can answer out loud. Music. Yes. Yes. Because some of us may have accidentally left Worry FM playing all week. And Spirit is gently inviting us to change the station. So I want to tell you about this assignment that a professor gave to his class. This is a professor in a four-year college. Once handed out a test. It was one of those surprise tests. What do we call those? Pop quiz. Thank you. It was a pop quiz. Students didn't know it was happening. And he announced to the students, okay, you're getting a pop quiz. I'm going to hand out the papers. He handed them out face down. When he handed them all out and came back to the front of the room, he said, okay, you can flip the paper over and you have 20 minutes to write about what you observed there on the paper. 20 minutes to write about what they observed on the paper. What he did was he handed out a piece of paper with a black dot in the center. That's it. That's what was on there. And think about it. What would you write about? I mean, you don't have to answer that unless you want to. But just think about what you would write about if you were given a pop quiz and you were given a piece of paper that was completely blank except for a black dot in the middle. So as you may imagine, he collected them all and read what everybody wrote out loud. And then he pointed out that not one single person wrote about the white space surrounding the black dot. Every single person wrote about the black dot. So the professor says this is what we do in our lives. We focus on the problem, the disappointment, the conflict, the fear, and we miss the enormous field of blessing that surrounds it. Maybe the enormous field of life that surrounds it. So the idea is the black dots are real. We're not saying that they're imaginary and that you don't feel them and to not pay attention to them. I'm not saying that at all. They're real, but they're not the whole page. They're not the whole life. It's an ongoing learning process. I'm learning that whatever is going on, I try to also tune into the wholeness that exists simultaneously, right? Tuning into that wisdom and that love and that joy and that gratitude and that peace that I don't have to manufacture on my own. Yay, because frankly, that feels like it would be a lot of hard work. I don't have to manufacture it. I just need to tune into it. I just need to turn from here to here or from here to here. I just need to tune into it. Whatever loss I'm experiencing, I remember to tune into the inherent goodness of the universe that stays the same while everything changes around it. Whatever difficulty that I am working through, whatever challenges appear, let me look at it and deal with it, and at the same time, let me tune in to that which has always been in me, continues to be in me, and will always be in me. Because it turns out that what I'm tuned into, what I'm focused on, what I am dwelling on, informs my mentality. And from my mentality comes an atmosphere, and that atmosphere affects everything. Me, my environment, and everyone around me. Ernest Holmes believed that when millions of people pray affirmatively for the well-being of a nation, spiritual powers are released that help guide humanity toward right action. In other words, consciousness can be collective. So imagine communities intentionally broadcasting love instead of fear, wisdom instead of division, compassion instead of hostility. What if a community consciously broadcasts love, wisdom, and compassion? What do you think would happen? Things would what? things would get solved. Lots of flowers would grow. Absolutely. What do you think would happen?
Maybe more smiles.
More smiles for sure. What if our prayers are not isolated whispers, but part of a collective transmission? A small group holding a shared intention can create a measurable field of coherence. What happens is we become a collective broadcasting station for healing, right? So we're going to do that right now. And Prem Daya, would you do me a favor and hit that button on that remote, turn on the air? Because I'm sensing that people are getting hot. Don't worry, you're already hot, but we're getting hotter. Yes. It's all you got to do is push the cool button. See? We're tuning in right now to the energy and the vibration that's going to give us what we want. Thank you so much for doing that. You did it. Appreciate it. So we become a collective broadcasting station for healing. So that is what happens if a community consciously broadcasts love, wisdom, compassion. It creates a field that is stronger than fear. So we're going to do that right now. And we're just going to do it for 1 minute. But I'm going to invite you to go within whatever way feels comfortable for you in your environment. You're welcome to close your eyes or keep them open. Yet for 1 minute, I am inviting us to completely and totally focus on love and sending love out into the world. That is it. And I'm timing now. So take a nice breath with me and come back to the room. So here's the invitation for this week. Remember that you are both a receiver and a broadcaster. We're not just always receiving and we're not just always broadcasting. And what we broadcast, that depends on what? Who is paying attention? What was that? Attention. Definitely. What we broadcast depends on what we're perceiving, how we're perceiving, like the banana in the picture, how we're thinking about life and feeling about life, how we're thinking about ourselves and feeling about ourselves, how we're thinking about our family, how we're thinking about our community. All of that impacts what we're broadcasting. We are already connected to the original broadcast of spirit. So we get to tune our consciousness to gratitude instead of grievances, to compassion instead of condemnation, to peace instead of panic, to love instead of fear. And when we do, just like we did a minute ago, and when we do, you do more than improve your own mood. You do more than improve your life. You become a living transmission of the divine. You become a living transmission of the divine. You become an embodiment of love, of joy, of wisdom, of laughter, of peace, of light, and life itself. You become the frequency that changes the world for good. And not just temporarily. Again, for good. I love that that has two different meanings. We're changing it for good and we're changing it for good. So who wants to change it for good? So I have an affirmation. I did make a slide. Yeah, good. I was trying to remember. Here we go. So if you feel comfortable, please repeat with me this affirmation. I am a spiritual broadcast station. I tune into the original broadcast of spirit. I receive love, wisdom, peace, joy, and life. I radiate compassion, kindness, and light. Wherever I go, I help create a field of healing. I am the frequency that changes the world for good. And so it is. Thank you all.